Witcher season 2. Right. Okay. I like the season a lot more than season 1. I like the monster fights in the season. I liked that this season felt more personal, building that relationship with Geralt and Ciri. But also, it taught me something about the monsters side that season 1 couldn't, that I'll elaborate on. And lastly, I thought it had some flaws with the world building and the politics of the world, all that warring side stuff. I'm still not invested in that at all. And I'll break down what I mean point by point by the stuff I said. First off, the monster fights. I love passionately. Almost every episode of this season had a boss fight. So many interesting different monsters who weren't just vampires and werewolves. Can you imagine? This was some Hollywood typical BS vampire werewolf. That's all they know how to do in these Hollywood BS movies. I like that this show, you can tell there is a creative vision with it. Whatever source material is based on, it's trying to do more than just the same old that we see as far as supernatural is concerned in mainstream Hollywood, right? But just on a personal note, it showed off Geralt's powers more. I still feel like they're holding back a tiny bit with him, but I guess it's because no one has been able to, in my opinion, in live action, no one's been able to show a healthy balance of melee weapon fighting, swords, arrows, other weapons, stuff that feels practical, mixed with a healthy balance of uh, like magic and fantasy fights. I'm thinking stuff like Scott Pilgrim maybe comes close visually in terms of the fights. Like certain anime you might see, Lost Airbender, Naruto. Those are things that come to mind. They come closest, but they're cartoons. Two of the three things I just mentioned, and which I feel like is still trying to find its footing. As far as those boss fights, which is why, in my opinion, it feels like they're holding back. With showing Geralt's power a little bit. But it's a lot more than season 1, so I appreciate that. And that's it as far as the monster fights are concerned. What else did I like about the season? Oh yeah, I said it was more personal. Specifically because of two things. One with Geralt and Ciri's relationship. Obviously, this season is built on us to invest us more in that dynamic between Geralt and Ciri. I said Geralt and Ciri. Ciri is much less annoying now, thankfully. Maybe it's because Freya Allen, I believe her name is, who plays her, is older now. So it shows in her performance also as Ciri. Yeah, she's still annoying, but it's more in a understandable, like, kids do the darndest things trope, where obviously she's not always going to do what Geralt wants her to. She's going to go over the rails sometimes. But to me personally, not in a way that is like severe or damaging to her character growth. Great. Like, she builds up Geralt to make him invest in protecting someone, invest in a purpose that he was clearly trying to avoid now. That I rewatched certain parts of season 1. And oh yeah, Geralt now is almost ironically, it's almost like by accepting his and Ciri's relationship, he's recognizing that, you know what, being a Witcher, there's more to life than this, and that means a lot, clearly. like this arc for him. It means a lot to come to that idea, and I feel like he did throughout the series. Like watching him trying to find different places and training Siri, that I really invested in, and I really appreciate the series for just trying to be more personal instead of just focusing on different structures. I hated that with season one. Different timelines. You're supposed to tell me this is some MCU BS. You're supposed to tell me. I'm going off in season one. Let's talk about season two. Yeah, like I said, I liked Geralt and Ciri's relationship. Also, liked, speaking of the more personal side of Witcher season two, it showed me the nuance with the monsters that season one clearly was trying to do and failed, in my opinion, to do. I'll give an example for comparison. The first episode of season two, it had Geralt meets a friend. Him and Ciri are traveling. They come across an old friend of Geralt's from way back in the day, who's been cursed. Long story short, you get this vibe throughout the episodes where they encounter this friend that this friend has been through a lot before and after he was cursed. He feels like a victim of his own flaws, his own hubris, in his case. But there was something else as well that, looking back, it made it clear that anyone who's been cursed, anyone who's a monster, can also be a victim of circumstance. It can really the line is just blurry enough to where you think, you know what, you're still attacking innocent people, you're still doing bad things, but you can also be someone who, before you were cursed, before you were a monster, did bad things regardless. You were perpetrating acts against people that landed you in the situation where you were cursed. And it made me remember something in season one. Season one, episode 2, I believe it is, where Geralt and his friend, the dude who did the famous Tussle Quantity Witcher song, Yaskiel, I think his name is. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. Geralt meets in season one's a goat man. I don't know if it's like a satyr or faun or whichever. And they try to do that message too, that monsters are people too, and we're just here because, and the blah 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 blah. Nah, I'm not about that X-Men BS. Season 2 episode 1 did what season 1 episode 2 and other episodes of season 1 were clearly trying to do and failed to do, in my opinion, because as a noob, as a someone who doesn't have any prior knowledge, doesn't have any friends who can tell me all the Easter eggs and the source material connections, I just saw a show that on one hand wanted to be Van Helsing, the R-rated version, but at the same time was trying to do this kumbaya stuff. Like, I'm not here to watch that. I'm here to watch you kill monsters, and that's it. And then once in a while, maybe do something slightly different as far as the dramatization and the storytelling. Yeah, but only like one episode in season 1 could give me that nuance. Whereas season 2, I was getting that time and time again. There were monsters and there were things that are happening to people who were victims of circumstance. Even if they were just like blind beasts, there were times where people were attacked or people became who they are, because they were imperfect before. So, and they were also victims of their own bias and their own flaws, hubris. I think the proper term is for it. I like that a lot about the season, but I did have some issues with the season that I will discover very quickly. The politics, the warring sides, I do not like that stuff at all. Speaking for myself, I'm still someone who I just roll over when I see like all this stuff about something God and discard. That's the name for the towns and the different kingdoms, like warring factions. The elves are fighting the humans, and the humans are fighting the warlocks, and the blah blah. Nah, all that stuff dead. Give me very specific stories, which is why I invested so much more in the Geralt and the Ciri stuff. To a degree, as we progress in the season with the Yennefer stuff, to a degree with the Fringilla stuff. There's a great scene with Fringilla. So she had a great character turnaround with just one scene, one epic scene. If you know, you know. That was great to me. Like certain things here and there for certain like minor characters. But the stuff I like the most is very like very extreme close-ups on certain people's relationships, certain people's arcs and lives, who are also performing magic or doing battles like a Geralt, like a Yennefer to a lesser degree, like a Ciri to a lesser degree. I need that more than all this politics stuff. But it feels like the way season 2 ended, all that stuff, that politics, war stuff, is converging around one singular, very specific character. And I like that. I like where season 3 is implied to be heading. I hope they deliver on that message. They have assassins and people with powers go after the character I'm thinking of, the characters I'm thinking of, because that seems exciting to me, as well as fighting monsters, interesting monsters, meeting people who have been cursed, who are monsters for very specific reasons that provide that type of nuance, as opposed to all the war stuff. That stuff I understand. This is clearly made for hardcore fans. To me, big yawn when I hear about all that other jazz. Just nah. I'm not here for it. Nah. But aside from that, like I said, guys, I really like this season of The Witcher. Tell me your thoughts down below if you've watched it. If you haven't watched it, do it. Yeah, I recommend it. Please comment down below. Like I said, like this video, share it with your friends. Lastly, subscribe. Button's right there. Just click. Other than that, guys, signing off. Salute.